All right, welcome back, 8th graders. So we're continuing solving our quadratic equations. The way we're going to do it this time, the method is called completing the square. Our objective is to make our equation into a perfect square trinomial. So we'll get into how this works. So it's the process of changing the expression x squared plus bx into a perfect square trinomial. And the expression that we need is b divided by 2 quantity squared. So I am going to write out our steps. So step 1, we're going to move c to the other side of the equation. And you may be going, but Mrs. Cartwright, the last couple times we had to have it equal 0. You're right. Not this time, though. Other side, there's only one equation. Step 2, we're going to find a new c using this b divided by 2 quantity squared. That's how we're going to find our new c. And then 3, we're going to add that to both sides, because what we add to one, we have to add to the other. So add to both sides. 4, we're going to factor the left, or whatever side still has the ax squared plus bx plus our new c. And then 5, when needed, sometimes it'll ask you to, sometimes it won't. When needed, solve. So this is an optional depending on what it's asking of you. So those are our 5 steps. We're going to make this one, we're not going to make equal to 0. It may give it to us equal to 0, but we've got to get it to where on one side we just have ax squared plus bx. We're going to find a new c. We're going to add that c to both sides. And then we're going to factor the left, which should be, I'm calling it the left. It's the side with your ax squared plus bx. And then lastly, we would solve as needed. All right, so first problem. We want to know what is the value of c such that x squared minus 16x plus this c is a perfect square trinomial. And so all it's asking us to use is this b divided by 2 squared. So that's the equation we're focused on. So just like before, what is a? A is 1. What is b? It's a negative 16. What is c? We don't know, right? Sometimes we will, sometimes we won't. But in this case, we don't know. And then I just plug in. So I have a negative 16 divided by 2. And I'll square that. So that will give me a negative 8 divided by 2. Negative 8 squared, which is 64. Okay, so then my c, my new c, is 64. And so then any other time we would then make this x squared minus 16x plus 64 is that new expression. It just asked what the c value would be. That would be the 64. But then we're just showing it down here. And that's how we find c. It's as simple as that. Okay? C was found. All right. Now we want to know, what are the solutions to the equation x squared minus 14x plus 16 equals 0? So remember, step 1, subtract 16 from both sides. Right? I got to get the c away. I only want ax plus b, or ax squared plus bx. I'm going to leave space, right? We want that plus c equals a negative 16. And then I'm going to have that plus whatever I get for c here too. I tend to put the blanks. It helps me remember. Add to both sides. But as long as I leave that open space there, I know I'm going to fill it in. And then off to the side, I find my new c. So I need my new c. So I know that a equals 1 and b equals a negative 14. So I'm going to do negative 14 divided by 2 squared, which gives me a negative 7 squared, which equals 49. So I know that I'm going to put a plus 49, and if I add 49 on this side, then I add 49 on this side. Over here, my next step is to factor, right? And so I want to know that perfect square trinomial. So it would have one parenthesis because both parentheses are the same. And I can go about this saying, okay, what multiplies to 7 and adds to 14? Yes, could. But you can also use those patterns that we know. We basically already figured it out. This right here is my b value, or not my b value. Well, I guess my b value in that ax plus b scenario, right? But this value here goes there. So I'm going to now have x negative 7, so minus 7 squared equals, and then I'm going to take that negative 16 and add the 49, and we get 33. So that gets us to step 4. That gets us to step 4. Step 1 was to move away. Step 2 was to find our new c. Step 3 was to add it to both sides. Step 4 was to find your perfect square trinomial. I am going to move this arrow just because I've got more stuff to put. So, but point out that negative 7, once we take our b divided by 2, that is what goes here. From here, it wants to know the solutions, so we solve. How do I get the square away? I'm going to square root, right? So now I have x minus 7. For now, I am going to just keep this as plus or minus the square root of 33, just because I don't want that long decimal. And then how do I get the negative 7 away from the x? I add 7 to both sides. So right now I'm looking at x equals 7 plus the square root of 33, comma 7 minus the square root of 33. But I need to actually figure that out. So square root of 33 is approximately 5.74. So when I do 7 plus 5.74, I get 12.74. And when I do 7 minus 5.74, I get 1.26. And those are my two answers. And that's how we can use completing the square in order to solve. This is a method so that I can solve in a way using square roots if I have that bx term. Just saying. That's one way of doing it. I guess I should say that this negative 7 goes here if my x squared is 1. If it's not 1, then we got to do a little bit more finagling. But that's what I got. That's completing the square. If you are needing help with that, please let me know. We do have, I'm breaking it into 2 more. We have one talking about the vertex form and one talking about that last word problem. And I will see you at those videos.